All right, everybody there? Hey guys. Sorry to interrupt your Sunday, and sorry we're here having this conversation, but I know you guys saw the news. I met with Coach Mullen shortly before noon today in his office, and we had a conversation. Just told him I felt like we need to go a different direction for the Gators and our football program, and he understood. It was actually a very productive conversation. Gave him the opportunity to coach the game Saturday against FSU, and after some discussion, and he actually took some time to think about it, he made the decision that he thought he would be a bit of a distraction if he was around this week after this news came out, and so he made the decision to step away and not coach the FSU game. I then asked Greg Knox if he would be our interim coach. Greg has served as an interim in the past, and has worked with kids on both sides of the ball, and is a well-liked figure in our building, and I think he'll do a good job. And we've got a veteran, experienced group of coaches, and they're going to wrap around our kids and make sure that they're in as good a position as possible to go out and compete and win a big game against a arch rival this weekend. Met with the staff, had that conversation that I just kind of recapped, and then we met with the team at 1:30. I started the meeting and told the players the decision that had been made. Dan was in the room, and Dan then addressed the team and encouraged them to focus on the things they can control and take care of their academics, take care of getting ready for a game this weekend, and then Coach Knox addressed the team and kind of gave the players the plan for this week. So that's kind of where we are, and our coaches and our players are focused on Florida State, and then administratively, I'm focused on starting the process to go look for a new head football coach. So with that, we'll take any questions.
We'll start with Edgar.
Scott, always appreciate you doing this. Know it's been a tough day for you. How did it come apart so quickly? I mean, a year ago, you guys were like in the thick of the college playoff race, and here we are now.
Yeah, Edgar, I don't know that I have some thoughts, and obviously we evaluate our program every day, right? You're constantly looking at things, and there's some conversations Dan and I have had in that time about how we get back to where we want to be, competing at a high level and having sustained success. I have some thoughts. I'm going to probably keep some of those to myself as we move forward here, but obviously we want somebody going forward who can come in here and they share our high expectations for sustained success and can do so at a place with great resources like the University of Florida.
Well, despite all that, Scott, and obviously this is a destination job, this will be Florida's fourth head coach in 8 years. How does that keep happening?
I have some thoughts. It's interesting. All three of those coaches, the last three, even going back to the one before, actually have had things that they could look to that brought a lot of pride to the university, whether it's Sugar Bowl appearance or BCS Bowls or SEC championship game appearances. The challenge has been we haven't been able to sustain it, and you've got to put really good structure, culture in place in order to sustain at a high level over a long period of time, and that's going forward what we've got to focus on.
Thank you.
Nick Della Torre.
Sorry about the noise. I'm in a Starbucks in St. Louis. When did it change for you, or when did your mind change about Dan and think that, hey, he's not the guy to lead this football program moving forward?
Well, Nick, as I mentioned, we're evaluating constantly, and I know Dan has spoken publicly that he and I have had several conversations in recent weeks about things in the program that we need to improve on. I'll be honest, probably this morning is when I made that decision that we were ready to go a different direction. So I don't know that it's, I can't say it was 70% on this day and then 80% another day. It just, Dan was our coach and I was fully supportive of him. But, once you get that feeling, it's time to do something different. You need to go ahead and do it. And I woke up this morning with that feeling, and so we moved ahead.
What was the reaction of the team when you spoke to them and when Dan spoke to them this morning?
They were attentive. It's never easy when you have change or disruption, when uncertainty is introduced into a situation. And so they were respectful. They listened. But this is, they've got to be strong. And then we as leaders, we have to where we can't, clear up all the uncertainty because we know what's going on this week. So we have to provide the clarity of what we know right now and not focus on the uncertainty of what's going to go on down the road as far as the players are concerned.
Zach Avalerde.
Hey Scott, you've obviously talked in the past about how hiring Dan was one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult decision you've ever made. Deciding to part ways with him, how difficult was that decision and just coming to grips with that?
Anytime you're making a decision that's going to impact someone's, livelihood and you're telling them they can't do something that they want to do, that's not easy, whether that's a staff member, a coach, a student athlete, whoever it may be. That's never an easy conversation. But, part of leadership is you've got to be able to identify that and then be able to have those conversations. And it's not a very fun part of the job. I wouldn't think anybody in a leadership position enjoys doing that, but so it's challenging. But you at the end of the day, you have to make the best decision for the organization that you're leading.
And then two things: what's the timetable that you're looking at, hopefully, to make a hire, and what are some of the factors that are going to be important to you?
There's no timetable. We want to take the time we need to get the right coach. We'd love to have one tomorrow, but that's probably not realistic. But we're going to move as quickly as we can. We're going to use every available resource at our disposal to, whether it's contacts or anything else to get as much information to make the right decision. And it goes back to, this is a place that we want to win championships. We've won 251 SEC championships in our history as a university. That's 100 more nearly than the next closest SEC school. We won 42 national championships across all sports, 3 in the sport of football. We want someone that has high expectations and big aspirations that match the University of Florida. It's a place that's a top 5 public university. I think it's easily a top 5 athletic program. We want someone who wants to be a part of that and feels like they have a plan where they can come in and achieve at a high level and do so for a long period of time.
Hey, Scott.
Matt Baker.
Hey, sorry, hope you can hear me. I'm on an airplane. What are how important is recruiting success to you as you evaluate candidates?
Well, I think when you look at what makes a successful coach, there's 3 main components. One is their ability to lead a group, a team. One is their ability to put that team together. And the third is their ability to coach that team. And we look at recruiting, that's a really important part of that second function of putting the team together. So we want somebody that can attract the best staff to coach the best group of players and take advantage of all the incredible resources and advantages that are here at the University of Florida. An incredibly passionate fan base. Young people get a chance to come in and play in one of the great home field advantages in all of college football in the Swamp. We're opening up a brand new $85 million football training center, the Hebner Training Center here in a few months. There's a lot of elements, a lot of pieces there that someone's going to be able to come in and take advantage of, and when someone has a plan to maximize that.
Pat Dooley.
Yes, Scott. Remember when Dan's introductory press conference, and you were talking to some of us afterwards, and you said that a booster had called you from Mississippi State saying, "I always wonder what Dan Mullen would be able to do with Florida-like players." And in the end, was it that he wasn't getting enough Florida-like players?
Pat, I think there's several factors as to why we're here today. Hey, I should have said this at the very beginning. Dan's a really good football coach, and I think he's as good on the offensive side of the ball as anyone in football, whether it's pro or college. And I think Dan's going to have other opportunities to go out and coach football, and I think he's going to be successful at it. This is a place that you should be able to have high level of sustained success over a consistent period of time. And to do that, you have to have a lot of little things in place. And, people look at losses as a cause to get rid of a coach, but a lot of times the losses or things that don't go right on the field, those are symptoms of other issues. And I'm not going to get into all that because I don't think that's fair to everyone involved. But there are a lot of little things that you have to pay attention to. And, we need to have an opportunity here to go get someone who can really focus on those things. But again, that's not necessarily knocking against Dan. Dan did a lot of really good things and won a lot of games here. And, in his short time as our head coach, was a part of, record-setting offense and first-round draft picks and Heisman Trophy finalist and, all those kind of things. Dan did a really good job in a lot of areas. But what we're seeing this year is, kind of symptomatic of some things that we need to get cleaned up going forward.
And did you think about waiting a week just so the seniors wouldn't have to play their senior day and try to get bowl eligibility with a skeleton staff? If I'm being honest, Pat, that was a consideration. But also, once you make that decision, as I mentioned, that I kind of came to that conclusion this morning. Once you make that decision, it's really not fair to Dan or anyone else to not move forward. And I don't think it's fair to the players if I know I'm going to make a change. To let them go through everything with that kind of facade, if you will. So I wish we weren't in the situation we're in. I have a lot of confidence in the coaching staff that we have. We have a lot of veterans, a lot of years of experience represented on that staff, and I think they'll get our guys in a good position this weekend. Thanks, Scott.
Mike Bianchi.
Hey Scott, I'm sure you mentioned the last three coaches and they had some success, but they couldn't sustain it. I'm just wondering. I'm sure you're self-reflecting on what the next hire should look like. How important is it? You mentioned Dan's offensive acumen, but how important is it to have a coach who, and I'm not saying Dan isn't like this, but to have a coach who communicates, who's able to connect? It seems like that's what some of the top coaches are able to do.
Well, there's a lot of boxes you'd like to have checked, and when I said there's three things that a successful coach does, and the first one is they lead a team. Communication is an important part of leadership, and so, but so is organization, and so is attention to detail, and so is casting a vision and getting others to buy into that vision. There's a lot of things that go into leadership, but the communication is certainly an important part of that.
Thank you.
Thomas Goldkamp.
Hey, Scott, a couple housekeeping items. Is Dan expected to get his full buyout, or did you guys negotiate a reduced figure?
We will fulfill the contract as written.
Okay, and is there mitigation in that? That was a little bit unclear, it seemed.
There's not.
Okay. And then will you guys be using a coaching search firm?
Thomas, we're going to utilize any and all resources at our disposal that we think is going to be helpful.
Okay, and then last one from me. I know you spoke to the players at the beginning of the team meeting. Have you had a chance to talk to any players in particular, like an Anthony Richardson, for example?
I have not actually, greeted Anthony. He actually walked past me as he was leaving the team meeting room. Had a chance to kind of just pat him on the shoulder and had a couple exchanges like that, but no conversations of note.
Andy Staples.
Hey Scott, what are the realistic expectations for the job at Florida? I mean, I think I know how the fans feel, but how do you feel about that? What is the realistic expectation for a coach at Florida year after year?
To achieve at a high level for a sustained period of time. We talk about competing for championships and we talk about having a championship experience with integrity, but Florida's a place you have the right to aspire to that. We have incredible resources. We're at a great university. We have an incredibly passionate fan base. We've invested a lot in facilities. One thing that doesn't get talked a lot about, we have incredible alignment among our university, hierarchy, from the board of trustees to Dr. Fox, myself, the University Athletic Association board, Gator Boosters board. And I, you hear, you guys probably see things from other schools where trustees are trying to get involved in the decision-making process and who's really calling the shots. That doesn't happen here at the University of Florida. I describe our board and our administration on campus as they're not like defensive linemen. If the AD is the quarterback trying to make decisions, they're not defensive linemen trying to get at me, trying to force me to make a certain decision. They're like offensive linemen trying to protect me and give me a clean pocket. Hopefully better offensive linemen than you are, Andy. But they're like an offensive lineman trying to give a really clean pocket to let the people they put in the position of authority make decisions. And I think that matters because I think to be really successful, you have to have that kind of alignment throughout the university. And so you look at that alignment on top of the incredible resources, incredible fan support, the facilities, the new facilities that are coming online, the conference we play in, where we live, a state of 21 million people that's one of the most fertile recruiting grounds in the country. We should have high expectations.
Buddy Martin?
Yes, Scott, some of those questions I wanted to ask were answered already, but I wanted to get back to the aspect of the market right now. I know you're not there yet, but you certainly have to think about the fact that there are so many openings in college football and so many big jobs available. How does that play into your decision to move now on Dan?
I don't want this to come across as pretentious, but we've got a really good job, and we have there's something that I feel like we need to do for the University of Florida moving forward, and the process that other schools are going through really doesn't impact what we need to do at the University of Florida, and so I understand there's going to be a lot of activity and there's a lot of traffic, but this is a special place, and my guess is it's seen as a special place, and it's a special place because of all the things I mentioned earlier about commitment and resources and facilities and access to talent and the brand recognition of the Gators. So I think we're going to be a really significant entry, if you will, into the coaching market, and I would think that we'll be able to attract quality candidates.
You mentioned the fan base. I deal with them every day too, just like you do, but on a different level. They seem extremely angry now, and I've been through this with them for a few coaches in a few years. I don't ever recall the hostility that I'm sensing and hearing. Somebody has to obviously deal with that. Who deals with that for you?
I think you do, buddy. In all seriousness, we hear from fans, and Gator Nation is incredibly supportive, and they're incredibly passionate, and it is what makes our fans really special. It's one of the things that makes the University of Florida really special. And so, I get it. No one likes losing. I get upset when we lose. So I join them in that. And when we win, they get really excited, and I join them in that. So my sense is their passion remains the same. No one has become indifferent. Our fans are not indifferent. They've not lost interest. They want to see us win at a high level, and I applaud them for that.
And the final thing, are the expectations so high at the University of Florida that maybe sometimes they're borderline unrealistic, and is that putting undue pressure on the person having to coach the team?
I don't think so, no.
Thank you, Scott.
Zach Hubert?
Hey, what made this situation different from the Neubauer one where it took several years to address them?
It was really totally two different situations. One was just totally different situations, totally different circumstances, and obviously, you get different feedback on different programs at different times.
Alan Taylor?
Hey, Scott. successful coaches elsewhere, you know, there's not been one template. You know, Kirby at Georgia, that's his first head coaching job. Nick Saban is his own animal. You know, what's your criteria? What does a successful candidate, a guy you want to pursue or a person you want to pursue, you know, what does that look like to you right now in your head?
You know, I have a pretty good idea, Alan. I would, you know, we want someone who has high expectations and you know, has a plan to how they can sustain that for a long period of time. And there's more that goes into that, but you know, as Buddy asked in his question, there's going to be a lot of competition in the marketplace, and I really don't want to share what our criteria or our, you know, what we're going to prioritize right at this moment.
Sure. Well, how does I mean, we have different metrics of measuring how good a coach is at recruiting, right? How do you sort of evaluate candidates? Is it word of mouth? Is it, you know, class rankings? I mean, how do you vet guys on recruiting? Because that's a little more difficult than wins and losses in determining, you know, who has those kind of communication skills and that drive.
You know, I think you try to utilize all the resources available, whether it's analytics, whether it's you know, results on the field, whether it is you know, input from people who have other observations of or may know some of the candidates. You know, we're going to look for a cultural fit. We're going to look for somebody who, you know, believes in creating a championship experience with integrity. We're going to, you know, look for someone who has a plan and how they can come in and use all the incredible resources available to them here at the University of Florida to put us in the best position to be successful.
Thank you, Scott.
David Whitley.
Scott, you said you were evaluating this constantly for your personnel, and that no one thing led to this decision, but is it safe to say that you wouldn't have made this decision had they won last night, or you would have held off at least another week?
You know, it's hard to speculate, David.
All right. Just curious, where were you when did you just wake up with this in mind, or what exactly? What time did you wake up, and did it occur to you today's the day?
You know, none of us got much sleep because of the travel coming back from Missouri. It was a short rest night, but there was some sleep involved. I was, you know, at home this morning, kind of, you know, going through my thoughts and you know, kind of came to this decision.
Okay, thanks.
Zach Goodall.
Hey, Scott, I have two questions for you. First, do you have any comment in response to Sydney Kinslow's interview about everything that happened with Cam Newbauer, as well as the BB Staples story that came out last week?
I do not.
With that being said, I mean, considering that situation that's been ongoing, as well as, you know, Dan Mullen being your first football coach hire, have boosters and the board given you confidence to nail this hire?
They have.
Thank you.
Back to Edgar.
Yes, Scott, your observation on Andy makes me realize at least you know offensive line play well, so that's good that you're going to be making a hiring. So I am wondering though, Scott, because this thing until South Carolina, sure, Georgia was rough, but they were great. And there were a lot of justifications for those other losses prior to South Carolina. So this thing's happened pretty quickly, maybe, it seems. I don't know from your perspective. But how prepared are you to make this kind of monumental hire? I mean, I mean that with all due respect, too. But, I mean, this is kind of like, okay, I got to make this. Or are you always constantly thinking of this and keeping info? Are you following me? Are you keeping dossiers of people and your eye on the landscape?
You know, I think, you know, just like you guys follow the sport, and, you know, we have a pretty good understanding of what the market looks like, and, you know, understand certainly the schools that have gotten out there, you know, mid-season or early season in the case of some schools. And, you know, we have a pretty good feel for that, but hope to, you know, can learn a lot more here in the days ahead.
I mean, is it a fair question to wonder? I don't mean to insult you.
No, it's not insulting. Again, I think it's the job of someone in my position to be prepared for any eventuality.
Good answer. And last one, I mean, looking at Mel Tucker, if that actually is in fact true. I don't know that that's, but I mean, the price tag is going up for these guys as we speak. Does the new TV deal and things like that make it more doable? I mean, because we're talking Dan walking out of the door with what he is and then bringing a new staff in. I mean, how onerous can that get financially for a program?
You know, Edgar, we're gonna put the resources necessary into making the right decision to get the right person and the right structure around that person for us to be successful. And we're very blessed to be in a place that we do have some resources. So we'll I get it. The market is what the market is, and University of Florida is obviously committed to being highly successful in the sport of football.
Thank you for the time, Scott.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, guys. That's all for today.
Appreciate it.